Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this video to introduce a new series of videos that I'm going to be making on relationship astrology, and it's going to be on an approach I call 3D relationship astrology, which approaches the subject from three dimensions, as you would say, or as the name would indicate. It's actually a three-pronged approach that shows a real comprehensive outlook. The first is we need to analyze each individual's chart, because the individual chart is going to show a capacity through which the other two prongs express themselves. So each individual is going to have a capacity and tendency which is shown, and that means a capacity and a tendency toward relationships that shows the commonality in their partner. So, for instance, the one thing all of your partners have in common is you. That's because you have a tendency. So that's the first part of relationship astrology. It's often overlooked because it doesn't just mean your chart in relation to others. It means you, not just you obviously, but an individual's tendency and capacity. So that must be assessed first, because that's like the lens that we're looking through, like in any other area of life. Nothing enters your field beyond that sphere, so it's easily the most important, and not just what you're attracted to and all like that. That's one part of it. That's a really kind of superficial part, but I mean your tendencies, like your relationship with masculine and feminine. For instance, if you're a man, the integrity of your masculine; if you're a woman, the integrity of your feminine. Your capacity to yield to another person's wishes, which would have to be your Venus, and the moon, the capacity to receive, how receptive and open you are, as an example. So that's the first prong, and then the second prong, we get into the synastry, which is often, talked about in Western astrology, but in Indian astrology, it's also incredibly important. And synastry means when you lay one chart on top of another, and you see how each individual's planets are relating with the other one. Now, the way we categorize that, or the way that is used, it literally shows like the buttons that are getting pushed in each person. Now, this is very important because it shows like the kind of charge that happens around the other individual. Often if you get around certain people and what gets activated in you around them is something positive, then you respond favorably and positive to them. Something negative, then you might be on the defensive around them or want to protect yourself or things like that. That's called synastry, and it's really important, and again, separate. It's separate from your individual tendency, because your nature is just what it is, but you might get around some people who, let's say, you have the moon in Cancer at 15 degrees, and they have Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. Well, just getting around them is going to feel uplifting, because their Jupiter's at the same point as your moon. Let's say they have Saturn there. Well, then you might feel kind of controlled by them. They might feel like a sort of parental figure to you. But it's not just about the moon. It would be with any planet. Like, let's say one person's Mercury is on the other person's Mars. Well, the Mercury person's going to feel kind of maybe attacked a little bit. The Mars person's going to feel like they want this person to like shut up and get to the point, for instance. So again, that's called synastry, and these are buttons that are getting pushed. Again, that has nothing to do with your tendency, and it has nothing to do with the next prong, which is the Vedic part, which has to do with the Vedic kutas. That the Vedic kutas, that's the Ashtakuta system, which assesses the nakshatra of each planet. Now, this shows how each of those energies are relating within each person, within the couple. So again, this doesn't have to do with synastry, which is one chart on top of the other and one person's planets affecting the other one. By the way, synastry also has aspects by synastry, like planets in their 7th house and all like that by synastry. the Kuta, the Ashtakuta system shows, like for instance, your moon in relation to their moon, your Jupiter in relation to their Jupiter, your sun in relation to their sun. Has nothing to do with synastry if they're interacting in the chart. It shows the cosmic ease, vibration, potential, a deeper connection of the synastry. So again, not just of the synastry, it's actually a separate thing, but you would take the buttons that are getting pushed and then you look at the cosmic flow that's existing within the couple, within the partnership. Like, one person's moon to the others, one person's Venus to the other, one person's ascendant to the other, and all these principles have to be in line, and they're assessed in 8 ways. The Ashtakuta 8 Kuta, which gives the points, and then there are other qualities of the Kuta system which have to do with obstructions and different modifying factors. So I'm going to be doing a series of videos that cover this system in great detail. And I'm going to start with how to look at the individual chart, how to look at the relationship potential. There'll be a series of videos on that. Then I'm going to how to assess synastry. There'll be a series of videos on that. Then it's going to be how to look at the chart, based on the Ashtakutas. So look for that. It'll be very important for you to understand relationship astrology. It's beautiful and subtle at the same time. And it's usually I've seen it's usually done very kind of sort of ham-handed, and they're just kind of all thrown into the same thing. The reason it's important to make these distinctions is because people are often surprised that you can see, we have really high Kuta score. How come we didn't get along well? Well, you didn't get along well because maybe you're an idiot, for lack of a simpler way to put it. No, not an idiot, but you maybe have terrible relationship karma, which means when you look in your individual chart, it's totally not aligned for good relationships, or your partner's isn't. These are separate issues. A person who is, John Wayne Gacy, for instance, a serial killer, you could take charts and he would have good synastry with someone and good Kuta scores. But does that mean if he just happened to be with this person, he would be a good partner? Well, no, because his nature is not, he has a certain nature for relating. It also makes us mature and, really grown up about what we can expect from relationships. They don't cure us or fix us. Every relationship we have fits into who we are first. So this is why I said that first one is probably the most important, and it's easily the most overlooked. When people start talking about relationship astrology, they almost act as though the person's chart has nothing, like their individual tendency toward relationship, has nothing to do with it. And in fact, it has most to do with it. You have to start there, and you need to really assess those factors first. Then, within that, you see what buttons are getting pushed by this other person that comes into your field. Like, let's say you're a kind of fearful person, like you can just see in the person's chart they're a little bit fearful, and then one person has their Saturn, like, right on your moon. Well, that's going to, it's going to push a button in you that's not going to facilitate that very easily. But you'll see, this is why, like I said before, everyone's partners have a similar kind of quality, because they're all coming from our point of view. So after we see that, then we look at the synastry to see what buttons are getting pushed in each individual, and then we look and see how those energies are speaking with each other on a more cosmic level through the Kutas. So stay tuned for that. I think you'll really like it. And leave a comment and share this with others if you think they'll enjoy this as well.